I'm now being joined on the news at 10 from our Abuja studios by the former executive chairman of the Borno State Emergency Management Agency, Grema Terab. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining me on the program.
Hello, good evening.
Now, how would you rate Nigeria's response level to emergencies that affect internally displaced persons?
Well, the issue of IDPs in Nigeria is so challenging and so pathetic, most especially in the northeastern part of the country. You can imagine where we have over 2 million displaced persons. About 20 local governments or so were affected, and towns were ransacked, mosques were set ablaze, churches were bombed, and marketplaces were deserted. So the situation of the IDPs needs tremendous effort from all angles: the federal government, the state, and the local government, as well as the NGOs. The state governments are doing a very little job there, while the National Emergency Management Agency is also complementing the efforts of the state governments. But what it should be done is that the National Emergency Management Agency should have a proper coordinating unit in all the local governments affected in order to close the communication gap between the local government, state government, and the federal government.
But Mr. Terab, have there been issues of having the roles of the federal and the state emergency response team blurred? And this sometimes prevents either groups from doing their duties. We've had situations where it seems as if both parties are coming in at the same time. Do you agree that there's been a kind of blurring of their roles?
Yeah, absolutely. There are duplicating roles and there are communication gaps. For instance, in Borno State, the MOU signed between the State Emergency Management Agency and the National Emergency Management Agency is that the National Emergency Management Agency will supply and provide the basic food items for consumption, while the State Emergency Management Agency will supply the food condiments and the management and upkeep of the camps. But to our dismay, you hardly find that the IDPs that are living within the IDP camps eat 3 square meals a day. So there is a serious communication gap between the NEMA and SEMA in various states.
Now, Mr. Terab, we don't have so much time. Even though we do not pray for disasters, how do you think Nigeria can be more proactive than reactive?
Yeah. The best way for Nigeria to be more proactive is to have emergency response centers in all the 774 local governments in the country, where we will close the communication gap. The number one key essence of emergency rapid response is to have communication. When the government is aware of any pending issue or a serious disaster that occurs, and if the communication gadgets are in place and if the community are involved in all the local governments alongside NEMA, SEMA, and local governments, we pray that all the conditions of emergency disasters can be easily tackled in a serious means.
Mr. Grema Terab, thank you so much for joining me on the news at 10.